Imagine you're sitting at home watching television on a Friday night with your children after a long week of work. No matter what you are watching, you are definitely not alone in watching television. In fact, according to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, nearly 80% of Americans watch television on any given day. Tel- Television provides entertainment for families, from sports to shows to news, and some television is wholesome. However, not all television is God glorifying and edifying for families, young adults, and children. Violence penetrates many shows people watch every day. In 2016, the official journal of the American Academy of Pediatrics studied 17 various television shows from different rating categories and found 70% of the shows studied contained violence. Portraying violence in the media presents an issue to the Christian peace position in the United States. The violence people, especially children, see on television, and specifically gun violence, can have a profound impact on their lives and lead them to act in non-Christian and immoral ways, and Christians need to realize this and not let gun violence overtake our culture. Let's start though by looking at the crucial importance of guns in our everyday lives as Christians as we strive to spread God's peace throughout the United States and the world. Guns are a vital component of maintaining peace among people in the United States and around the world. The Second Amendment protects American citizens' right to bear arms. As a Christian, owning and carrying a gun is not a sin. Guns are not morally bad or unchristian. However, as Christians seeking to live an upright and godly life, we must be careful not to abuse our right of owning guns. The Bible clearly states murder is wrong in the Ten Commandments in Exodus 20:13. You shall not murder. If people use guns for the blatant murder of someone, they are definitely not using guns in a godly way. Murder does not exemplify the peace Paul calls Christians to in Romans 14:19 when he says, "Let us therefore make every effort to do what leads to peace and to mutual edification." However, reasons exist for Christians to own and use guns, such as self-defense. Multiple verses throughout the Old and New Testaments call Christians to defend themselves and others. Christians should use guns for self-defense to keep peace for themselves, their families, and their churches. Dr. Richard Seam discusses the issue of self-defense and the Bible in a 2008 series. Seam discusses the need for churches and individuals to be ready to defend themselves. Also, in 1706, Matthew Henry said, "The sixth commandment does not forbid killing in lawful war or in our own necessary defense, for those things tend to the preserving of life." Verses like Exodus 22:2 and 3 show Christians need to be ready to defend themselves against life-threatening attacks. The story of Nehemiah presents the need to protect our fellow Christians. While rebuilding the wall, Nehemiah and his men heard of attackers coming their way, so they armed themselves and prepared for the attack. When the attacking armies heard Nehemiah's army was armed and prepared, they turned away and did not attack. According to Seam, this passage is a very strong passage about trusting in God while placing your sword, handgun, in its scabbard, holster, and carrying your spear, AR-15. As an example of the need for church security, Seam says, if one of those crazies comes to your church, what are you going to defend yourself with? An offering plate? Guns play a vital part in maintaining peace for ourselves, congregations, and Christians around the world. Nothing stands in stark contrast to the lawful and Christian way of using guns more than the ruthless murders and crimes people commit using guns. According to the Gun Violence Archive, 15,208 people died as a result of willful, malicious, or accidental shootings in 2019. These murders do not help Christians as we strive to create a peaceful society. The mass media presents another huge issue for Christians. Apart from all the fake news the mainstream media spreads, another awful aspect of media, especially television, is the amount of violence it exposes Americans to. Like I mentioned earlier, one study found violence in 70% of the television shows it studied. Gun violence penetrates many shows. Tim Winter, the president of Parents Television Council, says, "On a nightly basis, the publicly owned airwaves are a toxic environment awash with depictions of violence and gun violence." In November 2017, 39% of primetime television shows contained gun violence. The violence on television has an effect on Americans and our children. According to the Nielsen Corporation, the average child will have witnessed 8,000 murders on television by the time they finish elementary school. This presents a shocking problem to many parents in America. If the media blatantly exposes kids to so many murders, will our children be conditioned into seeing murder as a normal part of life? How can we expect children to grow into law-abiding citizens and peaceful Christians when they are constantly bombarded with images normalizing gun violence? This semester, I am taking an introduction to sociology class, and I have learned the impact socialization agents like the mass media have on children as they grow up. According to Margaret Anderson, media violence also tends to desensitize children to the effects of violence. The images people see on television have at least some effect on their lives. The Nielsen Corporation says 79% of Americans believe television violence helps to manifest violence in real life. From a sociological perspective, media violence is not the only reason kids engage in violent acts. The social context they grow up in also greatly matters. Yet, one cannot deny what kids who watch on television affects them. According to Craig Anderson, one study found TV exposure at age 14 significantly predicted assault and fighting behavior at 16 or 22 years of age, even after controlling statistically for family income, parental education, verbal intelligence, childhood neglect, neighborhood characteristics, peer aggression, and school violence. Much debate rages on about what needs to be done about the problem of media violence. Some people may say the government needs to regulate what television can display. However, as a firm believer in the First Amendment, I do not believe the government should have total control of the television industry. I believe the main responsibility lies with parents. Most Christians today likely want their children to grow up, most Christian parents today will likely want their children to grow up in a peaceful world. Imagine a world where guns are respected and people strive to live peacefully. Many parents probably see media gun violence as a threat to teaching their kids to live at peace with everyone. My challenge to parents today is this. Since what kids watch on television has an impact on them, please do not be afraid to heavily control what your kids watch. Gun violence on television will not go away anytime soon, and if you want your kids to be peacemakers, you must be ever mindful of what your kids watch. With this being said, parents, please teach your kids the many godly and moral uses of guns in maintaining peace. Finally, according to MediaSmart, a Canadian organization, violent media costs less to export, it costs less to translate, and it has way fewer problems being picked up by markets in different cultures than ours. I understand violence presents a huge market. My challenge to television show producers is this. Please, do not stop showing guns on television. Children need to see and learn proper uses of guns in maintaining peace. However, could you consider the impact your shows have on children and think about this the next time you want to show a ruthless murder on television? Media gun violence has a profound impact on our culture today. Television exposes children to murders and violence. These portrayals of violence are degrading our society, and moving us farther from the peace Christians desperately want for the world. The issue of violence in the media will not go away soon. As Christians, we must realize guns play a vital role in maintaining peace in the United States and the world. The ruthless gun violence shown on television, however, does not. Therefore, we must always guard our, as well as our children's hearts and minds from media violence. We must strive to teach each other's to teach others the godly and correct uses of guns, and not let the media dictate our perception of guns as we strive to live out Paul's call in Romans 12:18. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Thank you.